This program is produced by the volunteers of Tellico Village Broadcasting.
Hello, this is Betty Purvis, and welcome to this edition of the POA Update. Today we have with us our board president, Bruce Johnson, and we want to welcome you, Bruce, to this program.
Well, thank you, Betty. How are you doing this morning?
We're good.
Good deal.
Good. So, you had a board meeting last week or so,
We did.
And you had covered a lot.
Yeah, while you were down in Florida, we met like we normally do, and we had fun also, but it was a different type of fun.
Okay,
But,
so
we
what
did.
was the first thing on your agenda then?
Well, the first thing was we had scheduled for Pat White, one of our board members, to talk about a couple things. Number one is NextDoor and how people in the village are using it, and then also about the discussion that was quite expansive on NextDoor about room charges, and I'll get into both of those. But I'd start by talking about what Pat talked about on NextDoor.
Okay.
Basically, while we don't use that as an official communications tool,
Right.
we do look at it. Pat White would describe himself as a consumer or aficionado or whatever the word he used to say that he looks at it and he digests it.
Oh,
I wouldn't go quite that far for myself, but I will say that I monitor it. I look at it daily
okay.
to see what people are thinking about and what they're having to say about the village and the POA in
Get
particular.
a pulse of the village.
Keeping your finger on the pulse, if you will.
Okay.
And a couple things that Pat said, and I'll echo, is that we do notice that when people are on there that there's oftentimes a lot of misinformation
Yes,
on there. And so in today's vernacular, I guess you would say there's a lot of fake news out there.
Yes.
And so what we try to do at our board meetings, because we have been monitoring this and through our publications and whatnot, we try to dispel some of those misinformation and set the record straight, if you will.
Great.
But what we would encourage you to do is that if you see something out there on Nextdoor Neighbor and somebody has expressed an opinion, and we're glad they do because they're involved. But if you question that, then simply just call one of the board members or call the POA office and just say, I read this. Is this true? And we'll try our best to keep you updated and give you the information that you need. Another way that you can stay informed, obviously, is to attend the board meetings,
Right.
attend the workshop meetings, participate in the advisory committee meetings, and watch what's going on TVB. So,
Right.
because a lot of these meetings are presented on TVB. So, again, while we don't use it as a formal communications tool, we do monitor it. We will not respond back through it. We do that through the Telegram and other ways that we communicate. But again, enjoy it. There are some humorous things on there. There's a lot of good information, so use it. But don't take everything that you read on there as gospel, is basically
Verbatim.
what I
Right.
would say. What Pat also talked about was the room charges. Obviously, there was a string on the NextDoor that just keeps going and going and going. I monitor it, as I said, and every day there's additional 6 or 8 comments, even today after this thing started a couple weeks ago. So obviously it's a topic that people are interested in, and basically the foundation for that is that we did last year in 2019-18, the budget for it, we commissioned a study by our rec department to do a long-range look at what we need to do to make sure that the facilities that we have meet the needs of the people and that we're doing things in a proper way. We brought in a firm called 110%. And they had focus groups, and they facilitated the meetings, and then after it was all said and done, they took all the information that they got from these groups, and they made some recommendations. And one of the recommendations is that we see that just like a lot of our other amenities that we have, the rec department is subsidized to a degree.
Yes.
And you could lessen that subsidy by doing certain things, and one of those was you could charge people who are using that space for meetings, cards, whatever. And so some people read that in that report, which is up on the internet and available, and they just made the conclusion that this is what's going to happen. And I must tell you that that was a recommendation. It hasn't been proposed to the board by the rec department or the rec advisory committee.
Okay.
So it's just something that we should look at, and in all honesty, we have to do our due diligence. So we'll look at it. I can tell you that it has not been brought to the board yet. It may be discussed during the budget cycle, but it has not been brought to the board for approval yet. If I were to test the winds, if you will, I would say that you got to remember the board represents the village, and we are part of the village.
That's
so it's not looking favorable. I would say that if you call for a vote today, that I don't know how the vote would go, but a good number of the board members are just like you. It's just part of our social fabric, and that's the way we look at it, is that, you know, certain things that we do in the village are covered by our assessments, and and a lot of the board members look that way. But, you know, without having the benefit of a vote, I can't say that the board would reject it. I can just tell you that if you test the winds, it doesn't look like that's not going to happen in 2020, but stay tuned. We have not been presented with a proposal, and we have not voted.
Okay.
So that's where we are with that.
Well, I think it's good that we get the rumors out of the way and we get clarification of things.
That's exactly
very
right.
important.
Okay.
And ease some concerns of our people who use the rec center.
Yeah, I think that the people that started that string, the quilters, had a legitimate concern. I talked to one of the quilter ladies, and she said, well, where I come from in my previous experience, you know, when I see something that says strategic plan, I assume that plan is, you know, has been approved, and that basically a plan means this is what we're going to do. It's not something that let's think about it later. So coming from that perspective, I can see where they would get concerned. So
Sure.
let me just tell you that when you see a plan around here, it's not in concrete. It's basically a suggestions, it's recommendations. This is someplace to keep in mind as you go downstream. You'll see that same thing when we get into and they present the long range plan. Advisory committee will come, and when we have that, you'll see things that they've projected out maybe 10, 15, 20 years that if you're here then you probably a good bit of it would not have happened, but you still need a plan. You move that way, you investigate things, and that's what that was. And I can see where they got concerned.
Sure.
And they did the right thing in registering their concerns. But
Yes.
again, come to the board. We'll keep you as straight as we can.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Let's move on then.
Okay, good.
Let's move on to the HOA report.
Yeah, well, you know, Ellen
Eileen.
Fox comes in, and she's always really cheerful and bubbly, and she's an uplifting
Yep.
person, and she comes in and gives us good report on the HOA. And the good thing is that she's telling us that the HOA socials, the attendance at those socials are up. I think she's saying they're averaging about 235 or so people
Wow.
at those, and that's really good. And she mentioned that the next one is on October 8th, and she invited people to attend. So again, I've said it time and time again. The HOA serves a great purpose in this village, and if you're not a member, it's a great bargain for $10, you know, a year per family. I mean, that's great. You know, keep informed, and they also have simplified and moved into the automated world, and they're working with the library. And you know, now when you want to sign up to do some type of event or activity they have, you go to the library, get your tickets, and so they're just really working really good to make things so easy on people to do. It's you should be doing it if you're not doing it now.
Yeah, very convenient.
They did mention that they have set a date for the candidate POA. You know, we're in the middle of the POA replacement for 3 members. 3 positions on the board this year are up for election. We have 4 candidates, and those candidates will be participating in Candidates Night. That's every year we have that.
Yes.
The HOA does it, and they do it generally over at the community church.
That's right.
That will be October the 24th this year.
Okay.
And that will be, I believe, 4 o'clock or so in the afternoon. Also talked about the HOA safety committee, the highway safety committee that they have. They're doing a great job for us. You know, they've helped us get 444 repaved.
Oh, yes. Good
and
job.
turn lanes added. They've been still busy after that. They're working with, they worked with TDOT to help get that acceleration lane up at 321 and 444
Right.
if you haven't used that.
Very convenient.
Very convenient and very safe. They're also, if you haven't noticed, they are starting, meaning TDOT, and they've started putting the lights down at 444 and 72 out in front of the hardware store and the grocery store, and that whole intersection will be lit up better at night.
Nice.
They did say that they meet, I think it's quarterly, they meet with the TDOT, and it's open to the public if they want, and they come here, TDOT does, the highway department, and they'll meet with the safety committee, and I believe that's going to be on the 24th as well, but it'll be before the candidates night. But so if you're inclined and want to participate and listen and have questions for TDOT, that'd be a good thing for you to do, participate.
Okay, our candidates nights for the HOA that sponsors that will be October 24th around 4 p.m. at the community church. Check.
There you go.
Okay. Okay, let's move on to the new villagers. How did they report to us?
Well, you know, new villagers, there for a long time, they were coming to and reporting to us, and then all of a sudden, we didn't see them for a long time, so we've invited them back, and for the last several board meetings, they have come in. That they did come in, and they told us that I believe they now have around 1,200 members.
Oh.
They're
phenomenal.
Oh yes, they're changing their rules a little bit because their membership was getting so big that their socials and whatnot getting so crowded that now used to be when I was there and you were there, probably they would you know, like if you would graduate on December 31st, right?
Yeah, like 100 or so.
Whatever. But now they're changing that to monthly graduation. So your clock starts, your 2-year membership starts, like if you join in June, goes to the end of May 2 years from now. October, same thing. So that way they're trying to space out the membership through the year, and so I guess they'll monitor that and see how that goes, but that's what they're trying to do. They did say that just like HOA, they're very involved. They have a lot of planning going on. I think they indicated they have 15 events planned for October. So they're doing their best to keep the new villagers
and it's
informed.
It's just so important.
It is.
It is so important to get us acclimated to our new area.
When I meet people that come into the village, I tell them, first question I say, did you join new villagers?
So exciting growth in the village, and people are participating.
Yep.
And so let's talk about finances.
Well, finances. This is kind of an odd time of the year for us on finances because you know we're trying to make decisions on what's going to roll over into the next year. What are we going to finish up this year? And expenses lag and revenue is ahead and this, that, and the other. But basically, they reported that we're doing good, that everything's on track to have a good cash balance at the end of the year. They also report that, you know, our 2 major projects financially, by the next month or so, we will catch the books up on those. That's Kahidi and Tokwa. Our paving projects, sometimes we get the paving done, but the bills don't come in for 3 or 4 months later. So all that's truing up, and so the finances are looking really good. And I think by the end of the year we'll be in good shape. One of the things we know is because we used a lot of our revenue, our reserve accounts we use those to finance both of those big projects, as well as road work that we've done this year.
Right.
And the other thing that we've got ahead of us is the paving, not the paving, but the roof that's going on the wellness center.
Right.
We should be awarding that contract within the next week or so. Work will begin this fall on that roof. So for all you guys that like that blue color on the roof, it's going to go away, and we're going to get a new roof, and it looks like it's going to be replaced with a metal roof this time. And so,
but we'll hear that rain when
oh
it
yeah,
rains.
and part of that job is to do some work on in the natatorium to, some of the rust that had leaked down. We'll get rid of that, so we'll clean all that up and get it done. Inspect it to make sure that there is no damage that we can't see, and if there is, we will repair that. So all of that by the end of this fall, we will be finished up there with that, where we started when we replaced the HVAC system with the new dehumidifier, new roof. So all of that's going to be done, and if we can just listen to Simon and keep the temperatures in there the way they're supposed to be, then I think in the future with our new system in there that we shouldn't have the problems that we had in the past.
But we're going to have a pretty roof.
We are.
Well, now for some exciting news. What's the update on the Tellico Clubhouse?
Well, we had a lot of excitement with Kahidi, and we got through that, and we've opened it up, and people just really loved it, and people are using it like we wanted them to. It's spot on. It's really good for us. And just on its heels here we have Tellico, and some people have been out playing golf there, and they're coming in, wandering around and looking, because it's no longer a hard hat area, so people are kind of milling around in there, and
looking in the windows.
Yep, they're coming back and telling us they really, really, really like it. We had thought originally that we might get the occupancy this month, and we would then start putting in things and getting ready. It looks like now that the ribbon cutting is going to be November the 7th.
That was scheduled for November.
It was scheduled for November the 27th, so we're ahead of schedule.
Okay.
We're within budget, and we're on schedule.
Wow, those are
2 projects that we did this year. That's exactly
perfect.
right. We were just so tickled that essentially finished this month, October, but we will do the ribbon cutting and have the grand opening on November the 7th. Right now, if you see things going on, they're staffing up. They're bringing their staff in, they're training them. They will start over the next couple of weeks or so doing some serving some meals in a controlled environment to make sure the ranges and all that stuff work, and that everything's ready. So come November the 7th, if you don't have anything to do and you want to participate, we're going to have a ribbon cutting, and we'll start using that facility, and it looks beautiful. I think it does anyway.
And people are going to be very, very eager to start using that facility. We have wonderful facilities in our village.
Yes, we do.
Very nice.
And it shows in our marketing too. When people come here through our marketing program and the tours that we give, people are blown away with how things look here, and so we're proud of that. And this board, over the last 4 years that I've been involved, has really been involved in making sure that we first appearance we like for this village to look good.
Yep, and financially, fiscally
exactly.
responsible as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, yes. Well, that's a great way to end the meeting, but is there anything else you want to share?
Yeah, we had a couple other things that business-wise that we needed to take care of. And one of them was, we get through NextDoor and through complaints that we get as board members, we hear that some people aren't exactly excited or happy with some of our POA staff. They'll call up and they'll ask the question, they don't get the answer, or if they send an email, they don't get the answer. So we had a big discussion about customer service,
Okay.
And we felt it strong enough that we be responsive to people in the village, and that we serve their needs. And so we asked our HR person to come
Okay.
up with a customer service policy.
Chris?
Chris Carter, and she did, and she presented it to the board. We made a few changes, hammered it out, and then we also said, okay, now that we have this policy, which we approved, 5-0, 2 people were out on the board, but we feel very strongly about customer service, and so much so that we told her we want to see what your plan is and how you're going to execute this. So she came up and showed us how they're going to train the employees, how those employees are going to be evaluated as part of their performance based on customer. So we're really concerned about customer service. Again, you know, be a little patient with people sometimes. So like if they ask you a question, you might not get it in 5 seconds. It might take them a day to get it for you. But if you have a problem and that's not resolved to your satisfaction, or at least someone talked to you about it, let us know. And because
It's the only way we can improve.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
so, but that's that policy. And then also some other items. It was announced that the fire department, our great fire department in the village, is going to have a mass casualty incident drill.
Oh,
That is a situation we're going to do it over at the Baptist church, and it's going to be a situation where somebody comes into the sanctuary and just starts shooting people.
Aye.
And so we will have
Proper
a drill.
training.
We have asked for volunteers. We got a lot of volunteers to be, quote, victims, you know, or the people that got hurt. In addition to, it was announced that in addition to the board members being replaced, every year at this time, certain members on our advisory committees roll off.
True.
And we're always looking for replacements. So at the same time that we're promoting the candidacy for the board, we also are promoting candidacy for the advisory committee. So if you want to be involved in the village and you have a particular area that you'd like to, stop by the POA office and get an application. We've streamlined that process, so it should be easy for you to do. And you can be on the communications, you can be on marketing, you could be on public works, you could be on golf or recreation. There's various ones that we have, and so you know, if you're interested in those areas, finance, I forgot finance of all things, and so yeah, pick up an application and read the details and see what's involved and get involved is my encouragement.
It's a
to
great
you.
opportunity.
Okay, and the last thing that we talked about is we get a lot of new people here in the village are saying, can I add a fence, or can I paint my door blue, or can I paint it silver, or, you know, and so we have this thing called a blue book.
Yes.
And for the commercial ones, we have one called a red book.
Right.
And it's been quite a while since we updated those.
Okay.
And so the ACC has been through this process over the last year. Been really busy over the last several months, and they have now revised that blue book and made it easier to find what you're looking for, and took out some things where we had said, you know, if we can't enforce it, we took it out.
Okay.
And so I did have a question the other day that said, or I saw it on, of all places again, NextDoor, that said, hey, you know, I can do anything in the village I want to because the POA can't enforce the blue book.
Oh.
Wrong. We do enforce the blue book, and we have situations where unfortunately people have violated the blue book, and when we see it, we find out about it, they have to undo what they've done, and sometimes it gets very expensive. If you don't cut your yards and you don't trim your trees or whatever, sometimes we, the POA, do it, and guess what? You get billed for it.
Sure.
And so we do enforce. There's some rules in the past that we didn't enforce because they weren't really enforceable, but that's all been cleaned up, and so what you see in the blue book now, believe me, we will enforce them. So, but we have to, because we want, as you said earlier, we want this community to remain the gem that it is, a beautiful place to live. We don't want it tanking, It's
Right.
30 years old, but if you've been through other neighborhoods that are 30 years, you never know this village is 30 years old. And so, because we try to keep it pristine, if you will, and clean, and we also try to keep it modern. So, but go
So
out.
read the rules.
Yeah, that blue book is out for review right now. We, the board, will get it probably in the next month, and then we'll vote to approve it or disapprove it, send it back for more work. But that blue book should be finished in the next month or so.
Perfect. Wonderful. Great way to end the meeting.
And this is my last card. And guess what? Doesn't have
Nothing
anything
on
on
it.
it, right? So I'm good.
Well, thank you, Bruce, for
All right.
coming in and joining us today and giving us a good
Yep.
update on the POA board. We appreciate it.
Yep. I appreciate you guys letting us do this.
Well, thank you for spending time with us. I know it's a busy time with budgets and everything, but we appreciate you spending the time with us. This is Betty Purvis for Tellico Village Broadcasting, and we want to thank you all for watching this program as well as all of our videos that we have. You can reach them all at tellicovillagebroadcasting.org. And we have wonderful people who volunteer up here and give us a great show for us to be informed with everything that's going on in our village. Thank you.